how full of bliss thou art. Victory unto thee, victory unto thee, victory unto thee. The soft spring wind of the new day raises fresh waves of joy. Gently it carries to the earth the fragrance of God's love, till all the yogis, drunk with bliss, are lost in ecstasy. Victory unto thee, victory unto thee. On every side shine devotees, like stars around the moon. Their friend the Lord, all merciful, joyously plays with them. Behold, the gates of paradise today are open wide. Victory unto thee, victory unto thee, victory unto thee. Upon the sea of the world unfolds the lotus of the new day, and there the Lord sits enshrined in blissful majesty. See how the bees are mad with joy, sipping the nectar there. Victory unto thee, victory unto thee. Behold the Christ, radiant face, which so enchants the heart and captivates the universe about his lotus feet. Bands of ecstatic holy men are dancing in delight. They're lost in ecstasy. Victory unto thee, victory unto thee. What matchless loveliness is hair, what infinite content pervades the heart when he appears. Oh brothers, I humbly beg you one and all to sing the Master's praise. Victory unto thee, victory unto thee, victory unto thee. So
one of the times I spoke with you, I mentioned how the human side of Baba was what attracted me very much. And I had the inner experience of Baba's divinity, but it was Baba the man who attracted me, and um, and the companionship. So I set about, as I have mentioned, to get a deeper understanding of how Baba was as a man, his likes, his dislikes, all the different loving expressions he gave to people, and all the stories. And I soaked it in. But here's one story that had made a very powerful impression on me, and I'll share it. There was one of Baba's very early mandali. His name was Sarosh. He grew up in Ahmednagar. He was Adi's cousin, and Khorshid, one of the women mandali, was his cousin. And he was 18 when he joined Baba. And Baba, this is in 1922, Baba with a band of about 40 men went on foot from Ahmednagar to Bombay, if you can imagine that. And he got a place that was called a bungalow in the Dadar area of Bombay. You used to be able to see that. I don't know if it still exists. And but they so Baba, the men would be there, and it was his first ashram, and they had a lot of training from Baba and discipline and all of that. And they would go out to work and come back, and Baba was very, if you read about that period, very focused on training them. But after 9 months, excuse me, after 9 months, Baba disbanded this ashram, and he gave interviews to each of the men. And some of them, they could choose whether to stay with Baba, whether to continue with their college education. And in the case of Sarosh, he was engaged to be married to Vilu. And Baba gave his permission. And so he began his early married life up in Nasik. And you can imagine all the adjustments of newly married. And he also owned the franchise for Chevrolet Corporation, the American automobile. You probably know, you probably heard of Chevrolet. So he began his life there. And if I remember, see, I'm relating what I heard back in 1970 when he came to New York and shared this. But anyway, so he was there for a couple of years, and at one point he went to see Baba. So as I recall, Baba was somewhere else. I don't know where. He could have been in Pune or Bombay, but he had, as I picture it, he was in a large bungalow, and Bob was in a very good mood, and he was relating to all the men in a very playful way. And Sarosh was there, and Baba just kept overlooking Sarosh. He would relate to this person, and then he'd skip over Sarosh and relate to that person. And Sarosh was there all afternoon, and Baba hadn't even paid any attention to him. And he was devastated. He was so hurt. Eventually, and now Sarosh was a very manly guy. I mean, must have been over 6 feet, a very strong, he was a businessman and all that. But he comes forward to Baba weeping and says, Baba, I haven't seen you in years, and I've come here all afternoon. You've ignored me. You haven't even acknowledged that I'm here. And Baba spelled out on his alphabet board, now you know how I felt all these years that you haven't come to see me. So that made a deep impression. I mean, it's like Baba's not just, aloof from all of this. He feels these things even more than we do. He just doesn't react like we do with our ego. We can defend ourselves with our ego. Baba is completely open. So now you know how I felt all these years that you haven't come to see me. And here's another story. Now, I don't know how this made an impression on me. You may feel differently about it, but this is another way that this is the Baba that I was getting to know. And Erich, wow, I'm see, I lost the gallery view. I definitely don't want to see myself. So Erich relates this, and this is as I remember it. There were two very large families, very extended families up in in northern India. It may have been Dehradun. I'm not certain. I don't think he said. But these two large families were very close. They were all devoted to Baba, and there were two couples. You know, a couple from one gentleman from or one young person from one family married into the other woman from the other one, and vice versa. So there were these two couples, and years went by. But what happened is one of the husband of one got involved with the wife of the other couple, and she got pregnant, and they didn't tell anybody. And they contrived a way. I think maybe he went on, said he was going on a business trip and she was maybe visiting relatives or something, but they contrived a way to come all the way down from northern India to Merazad. And they fell at Baba's feet and confessed all that they had done. And this is what Baba did. He said, he told the husband of the other, actually the other woman, I want you to go back up and don't breathe a word of what has happened. So he left, and then he contacted her family and said that he wanted her to be with him and the women Mandali. And of course, the family was very touched that Baba would want their daughter to be with him. And she stayed there with the women Mandali, and I think that maybe the whole time with the women Mandali, she had the child. The child was given to one of Baba's Mandali to raise, and she went back up, and she was told not to say a thing. So this way, Baba kept the harmony of these two large extended families and spared them a lifelong life of shame by doing that. You might say was that really honest? But from the standpoint of love, I would say was the most honest thing to do. So these kinds of things about Baba made a very deep impression on me of how he is. Were you able to follow that at all? So now this is where the real problematic part of this this sharing comes, because a couple of nights ago Rakesh asked me I would if I would come and share again some things, and I thought of a topic at that time: right adjustment to others. I mean, this is one of the things that Baba puts out there, right adjustment to others. And I thought, well, that would be an interesting topic, and people could ask questions and people could share their observations. But I woke up this morning, about 4:30, it's like 7 o'clock now, but it was early. I thought, oh my God, this is a can of worms. This is going to be I would need more time to talk about this. So I'm hoping you help me with this. But let me see. Here's one of the quotes. Oh, and so like I say, I woke up and I felt really a little bit scared, daunted by this topic. But Baba reminded me of a quote that I used to keep in my wallet back in the 70s until it eventually shredded. but it was one, it expressed a truth that I felt deep down. I found very affirming of my deepest sentiments. And Baba says, all differences between one another are merely superficial and cannot affect the love we feel for each other deep down. All differences between one another, male, female, Indian, American, rich, poor, all that, all differences between one another are merely superficial and cannot affect the love we feel for each other deep down. So we already love each other. So what's preventing us from seeing that? Of course, our sanskars, our conditioning. That has to be moved away. It's not that love grows, it's that this other stuff is removed to see that all along we have always loved each other. I'm reminded of a quote from Rumi where he says, "The roads are different, but the destination is one." All those who yelled at each other, "You hypocrite, you infidel," in the end wind up drinking from the same keg of wine and laughing out loud. So we're going to, that's awaiting us. But okay, so I wrote down some things here. See, I know you experience this. When you're in a state of love inwardly, the problem of right adjustment to others is not a problem. But there are more than a few Baba lovers who have said to me, well, they'd live happy and contented lives if there weren't certain people in their life. And that is the big challenge. That's the stumbling block that we have to deal with. Baba said, true happiness begins when one learns the art of right adjustment to others. And right adjustment involves self-forgetfulness and love. And I'm reminded of, there was a woman named Helen Dahm. She was from Switzerland. And Baba had invited her in the late 30s to Mehrabad to be with the women Mandali, the Easterners and Westerners on the hill at Mehrabad. And she was a painter, so Baba gave her the privilege and duty of painting the inside of Baba's tomb. And that's the mural that you see there was hers. It's been restored a couple of times, but she was the one. And she was like very kind of a loner. She was, always kind of stayed aloof. She would work in the tomb. She would work in the tomb, and then she'd come outside and sit off to the side and smoke cigars. And Baba would even supply her with cigars. But one time she was talking with Baba, and she said that she just complaining about having to be around so many people. And Baba, rather than humoring her, said, but the path is through people. So there we are. We're not going to be able to kind of be in our house and close the doors and pull down the shades and make it to the goal. The problem of other people, of other environment is not going to be dissolved in isolation. As much as Ram Nori thinks he can do it, I mean, it's not going to work. No. Now, as I said, when you're in the state of love, it's not, relating to others is not a problem. But what happens is, for me, when I drop down into my sanskars, when I drop down into my conditioning with all the values of right and wrong, good and bad and everything, then my sanskars may or may not harmonize with the sanskars of that guy over there or that group of people. Their behavior may not resonate with me. And so I mean, the difficult thing. And the thing is that we take our sanskaras so seriously, and we make those real differences. But Baba says all differences are superficial. The love in us can embrace that person over there, but our sanskars may or may not embrace them. And so I'll mention when I started working at the center in Myrtle Beach, this was back in the 70s, I thought Baba would draw to the center the cream of the crop of humanity. But I found over the next months that what he had done is draw a cross section of humanity, from poor to the very rich, to uneducated to the, here I am again. Got to get the gallery view. um, the uneducated to the Harvard graduates, to people who live in their minds and approach Baba that way, and other people that are heart-centered operate from there. So it was very difficult to, I didn't want to pull back from my fellow Baba people. They weren't necessarily going to change, so I was the one that had to change. And so Baba had me, over a period of 20 years, of lowering my expectations of others. Baba worked at dismantling that so that I could enjoy my fellow beings. I could enjoy my fellow Baba lovers, because criticalness and judgmentalness is the curse of, I would say, a lot of Baba lovers, because we have these values, our cherished values, and the world is violating them right and left. I mean, especially with our political situation here, it is hard to not be disturbed, to be able to flow through the reaction and not get stuck in the reaction, not get stuck in the sanskars, but flow through it with love. I mean, that is not easy to do. And so over about a period of 20 years, Baba, I would say, knocked out a lot of my criticalness and judgmentalness of my fellow beings, and so that I could actually enjoy the company and truly enjoy the company. And oddly enough, when a lot of the criticalness and judgmentalness got knocked out of me, people actually treated me better, because you always respond much more warmly to somebody who doesn't have that lurking attitude, a negative attitude toward you, or judging your behavior. But like I say, I had to lower my standards and lower my expectations. It was not easy, because Baba drew the extremes, the whole spectrum of humanity. In fact, I remember Eric saying that you're in the court of the Avatar when all of humanity is represented. You said there are ashrams where people are mostly spiritually minded. So we have the whole wide range in the court of the Avatar. That's the sign. So from scoundrel to saint, from selfless servant to sponging off of the society, whatever, they all show up. And so anyway, that's, let's see if there's anything. Oh, now here's an interesting thing. Like, going back to what Baba said, we all really love one another. If we could stick it out, and if we could wait until the sanskaras and our conditioning kind of go off to the side, the love is there. But there was one woman named Agnes Barron. She was a long-time follower of Baba. She was a very bristly, opinionated personality, very difficult. I mean, she could be quite difficult, but she had a heart of gold. But and Baba put her in charge of Maher Mount, which was the place in California. She was known as the watchdog. So you can, even Baba called her his watchdog. So you know what a watchdog is like, but she's like very intense, very intense. And she was driving with Baba from Mayer Mount to LA, which is about an hour and a half away. And in the car, she said, you know, Baba, some people just don't like me. And, you know, and she was more than just some, I mean, quite a few. But Baba turned and said, but I like you. So that got her off the hook. But anyway, she went on to LA. And in LA, where Baba was staying, she got in an altercation with Murshida Ivy Deuce, the head of the Sufism Reoriented. She got into some kind of altercation because she did manage to butt heads with people. And so later on, when she was with Baba, Ivy wasn't there, but she was with Baba, and she said to Baba, you say that we should love everyone, but I can't love everyone. What are you going to do about that? And Baba said, spelled out, gestured with Eric interpreting, you love everyone, you just don't like everyone. And so she said, I can live with that. And she would give the shirt off her back to anybody. She had the love, but her sanskaras would butt up against people. Her sanskaras would butt up against other people, but actually the love was always there. She had a heart of gold. But like I say, there are these sanskaras that we have to deal with that are always kind of rubbing up against people. And in fact, never believe your first impression unless it's favorable. Because, you know, someone that you had a really negative reaction to in the beginning, 3 months later may become your lifelong friend. Basically, don't believe your sanskaras. Believe the love that we have behind all of this. We really love each other. You say, I can't love everybody, but you, believe it or not, if you really looked within, you would discover that you would give your life to your worst enemy. You would try to protect them if they got in an accident and they needed to be rushed to the hospital. All the love would come through, even though at a sanskaric level, at an emotional level, you are put off by them. You know, so let me see. I'm gonna soon open this up. I'll just see if there's anything else here. I mean, I'm just bringing up one aspect of this. This is a massive thing, and that's why I woke up this morning. Oh my God, this is way over my head. So I just brought up this one thing from my side, and trying to we're going to say, get beyond my conditioning, my cultural background, which happens to clash with this person or that person. Get beyond that to the love behind it. And I basically, I mean, I had to people were doing things that really violated my cherished values. So what has to go? You know, my expectation of imposing those on others. I can impose them on myself, but if I'm going to enjoy my fellow beings, I realized, and Baba made me work at this, and so that I could have fun and enjoy the company of others, and not be in there critical and judging them. They're not spiritual enough. Oh, they don't follow Baba the proper way, blah, 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 all that kind of stuff. Anyway, I have given my spiel. Now, anybody that has anything to chime in, go right ahead, because, or any questions to ask. It's an enormous topic, but we have to we have to be able to relate to others without being too distant and without being too enmeshed. We have to so, to remain harmonized with people and not get bound up. Do things that are binding. In fact, Baba used to say to the men, Mandali, when they came to the West, about how to relate to women, he would say, not too near, not too far. Not too near, not too far. So it's a very vague outline, a very vague thing, but when you're getting too near or too far. And Erich used to say this, which in the beginning kind of disturbed me. I mean, I didn't agree with it, but now I feel much differently about it. But he used to say, to keep friendship evergreen, let there be a hedge between. To keep friendship evergreen, let there be a hedge between. You don't want to let them over in your yard and dump all their trash and their lunch, all their lunch debris and everything in your yard. You have to keep some kind of a loving distance, I would say. But anyway, so I throw this out to you folks, and now I can sit back and do nothing. Listen. Any comments? Any questions?
Jeff, one of the things that comes to mind is the work we're doing on our Circle of Friends Zoom. And one of the principles seems to be that we always get in trouble when we get into other people's business. If we just stay in our own business and just kind of relate to everyone else from that center and core of love and kindness, and let other people unfold their sanskaras their own happy way or sad way or aggressive way. Whatever they're doing is really their story. So to stay in our own
in
story,
your own lane.
And yes, in your own lane is very beautiful. Yeah. So that's my 2 cents. I also posted the instructions for raising hands. So please go ahead and raise your hands for any questions or comments for Jeff.
Oh, she did. Jeff, I raised my hand. Can I speak?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Jai Baba, Jeff. Delna.
Yeah, Delna, yeah.
Jeff, now you just said, Erich mentioned that when you have friends, you should don't keep them too close. Explain that in another way, because I can't keep them at a distance.
Yeah. Well, no, that kind of rubbed me the wrong way when he used to say that. But what happens when you get too close. Sometimes then you become overly responsible for them and how they're doing. And he said to keep friendship evergreen, let there be a hedge between. At the level of love, you don't have to have a hedge. But at the level of the emotional level, sometimes it's good to keep a little bit of a distance. But that's something to take in and work with that and be aware of that. At a loving level, they can be in you and you have that great intimacy with them. But if they're divorced, say, and for years they're talking about what happened in their marriage and playing the same old tapes all the time, you might have to not be quite so close. You might have to kind of get a little bit of a distance, even though it might seem like you're not being loving about it. Or you might have to enter in and ask a few questions about why they're still playing the same old tapes, and that may create a distance. But all these things have to be worked out at an inner level, and love and Baba will make it possible that you can hit the right note. All right. But if you're too enmeshed, you might lose, there might not be enough oxygen in the room for both of you. Yeah.
Oh, that's lovely. One more question I have.
Yeah.
So when you say that you lowered your expectations, how do you work with if you brought someone to Baba and they are also with Baba, but they have a different take on the way it should be, like
Yeah.
so sometimes you get judgmental and sometimes you feel no, this is not the right way and the wrong way. So how do you let someone just have their own journey with Baba? Is there a right way, wrong way, or there is
Yeah.
have their own way?
You know, it's interesting. Baba used to say, and Erich used to say, love would never ask that question. Meaning, love knows just how to calibrate what you say to that person. You know, how much you can get away with, how much you have to leave implied, how much you can actually say to them. You know, I mean, back in the 70s, people used to say everything is Baba's will. And then they would do all sorts of binding and inappropriate things. Well, it's all Baba's will. Now, how are you going to tell somebody that everything is Baba's will, but there's Baba's wish too? I mean, it's very hard to find a moment where you can, because they have to be open to what you say to them. Otherwise, you're just telling them something and they take it as a criticism and then they pull back from you.
Correct.
So we have to kind of watch what we say and find the right moment to bring something across. You know, even though what you're saying is true, you know, everything is Baba's will, but not everything is his wish. That's true, but they may not want to hear it, and you don't want to spend all your capital on conveying something to them that might be a help to them. It has to really be a help rather than that they take it as criticism and they pull back. You follow? I mean, it's amazing how there's no formula for this. I mean, this is all very situational.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Jeff,
Yeah.
Jeff,
Yeah.
in Baba's last warning, the circular that was issued, Meher Baba's last warning in 1968, there is a sentence which goes like this, somewhat like this, you know, do not be intimately involved in the affairs of the others. So it tallies of the, yeah.
In the family affairs.
Concern, but don't be involved. Yeah.
But the thing is that that can lead sometimes to a detachment that doesn't have much love in it. That, I mean, I've seen that. Oh, I don't want to get involved in that. Whereas love might want you to get involved. It's possible to be involved with somebody. It's possible to be involved with someone wholeheartedly and yet be able to drop the situation. But love may want you in there to try to help someone through some difficult time. And you are kind of intimately involved, but love keeps you detached, oddly enough. I mean, what I always say is wholeheartedness and love, there's a detachment in it because you can let go of your object of love and wholeheartedness and turn it to something else.
Like Adi Kaka would say, you know, that let your mind be a watchdog over your heart.
Yeah.
So that, you know, there's that balance between the heart and the head, you know.
Yeah.
So that you don't get too drawn, you're too sucked into that particular situation. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
and
very
Soumya prompts me to say that in that circular, I'm not too sure, where Baba says that you must have active concern for the
Yeah.
well-being of the other, but you
Yeah.
should not be intimately involved in the other people's affairs.
Yeah. You don't want to get politically involved in taking sides and all of that.
Yeah.
You know, but we're going to be called upon to, you know, intervene lovingly with friends of ours who might be going through difficult times, and that's pretty hard to avoid.
Just carrying on with what Saris ji mentioned, that we shouldn't be intimately involved involved in other people's affairs, and like you said, that could actually lead to a point where we lack love for the other person. So just want to bring in the point that the intimacy has to be with Baba alone. I mean, we can be concerned, we can be,
Well,
whatever. We wish him, we
you're
wish
breaking
everything
up.
for the person, but still remain at a. What I'm saying that we should, the intimacy and the, getting too close has to be with Baba alone. And any other person remains a second choice or a second person. We shouldn't be getting that close to the other person other than Baba.
Yeah, but you may be relating to Baba in that person. Oh. So
if we try, I mean, yes, we see Baba in everyone, but if we relate in that manner, then probably we'll be enmeshed in each and everybody's affairs. We give the same importance to anybody's affairs, thinking that this is Baba's affair. I mean, the mind and the heart will both know where to draw the line, like you said.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I think I believe at the heart level we can be guided in there with Baba, just how far to be involved in the lives of others. But now here eventually.
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
Can I just read out that paragraph Baba says
Yeah.
about his lovers and workers should not get intimately involved with the family affairs of one another, and they should not be emotionally upset by the personal affairs concerning any of their families.
Yeah.
They should not let any personal affairs vitiate their relationships with one another or affect their efforts in the work they do for the cause of truth. That's just a paragraph that I was referring to. Yeah,
yeah, beautiful. Yeah. And a lot of that has to do with taking sides. In a divorce, you may be taking the side of your buddy against his wife. that you have to be completely dedicated to both. In your response.
Or
But,
maybe that the detachment is the key. You can.
Uh-oh.
We're losing you, Rakesh.
He has got to be internet connection is gone.
Yeah, there's a comment here too from Meher Krupa Palvi saying, because we collect sanskaras, question, when we get involved.
Say that again, please.
Yeah.
Is it because we collect sanskaras that we should not be involved?
Well, I think you have to be a little bit careful where you're monitoring how many sanskaras you're picking up from this one and that one. It makes it kind of mathematical. Well, I better not interact with that person because they're in a bad mood and I'm going to pick up some bad sanskaras over there.
No,
I'm going to go to this grocery store instead of that one because that person is whatever. That person follows Jesus and that person is an atheist. I mean, I think I'll leave that to Baba. Because love dissolves good and bad. Love dissolves all the sanskaras. So if we can drop back into a place of love, everything we do is things are getting dissolved right and left. But if you're saying, I'm picking up too many good sanskaras from that person and I'm getting some bad sanskaras, now my balance is all out. What is my account? It gets to be a mental. I know people that do that, and it gets to be a mental preoccupation. They're going around the world and they're worried that they're going to pick up some, like a virus somewhere. But love kind of keeps us free from, if we can stay with Baba and focused on Baba and in that loving state, we can go freely in the world for the most part. and our intuition will tell us if it's a little bit dangerous to go down that dark alley, say. But otherwise, you get to be kind of a fearful approach, or an acquisitive approach to life. Trying to acquire more spiritual impressions and all that. So, yeah.
Avi,
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say, it's so funny that Baba lures us into a battle with people only to then have realization and awareness that we should take a step back and listen to him and hold on to his Dhamman even more. That's what's happening to me all the time with Baba.
Yeah.
It's just an awakening all the time of everything you do. So you become more and more aware of how you should think or what you should do. And I giggle because it's one way of Baba giving me a tap on a flick on my head, and that's it. So thank you for sharing, Jeff.
Yeah, that's a beautiful way to look at it. I mean, we bump into people, but why do we bump into them? We bump into them because they have some scars that are connected with some of the sanskars in us that we haven't really given yet to Baba.
Right.
There's a Sufi line, to the pure in heart, the world is pure.
That's nice. Thank you.
Yeah.
okay, we have a question from Pari Mubaraki.
Okay, yeah. Pari.
Yes, hello, can you hear me?
Yep, hear you.
I just wanted to know that suppose a friend is going through a difficult situation and, I don't mind giving people a listening ear, but I get very scared to give advice because in case they take that advice and follow it, and if it backfires or they are not happy with the outcome, they end up blaming me that, oh, you were the one who said I should do this and it didn't go to plan. So is it okay if I just give a listening ear and not give them advice, or should I be giving the advice and then let them decide, if they followed it and it backfires, can I say, you were the one who chose to follow the advice?
Very good question, Pari, and many of us have to deal with that right there. Of course, listening with love is such an invaluable thing to do, and sometimes love will get you to say something. When love gives you something to say, it's not as binding, but you have to be. But if they do something that you kind of giving them advice because you're doing it as a formula, and it backfires from them, they can blame you. But if you wait around and see what love has to say, then sometimes what it says from your heart is something that's helpful, and love doesn't have this driving force like you should do this. I'll give you an example of a type of thing. A buddy of mine, my closest buddy, wanted to marry this woman, and I knew that it was not going to last. But I'm in a situation now. If I say, "Hey, it's not going to last," both of them will turn on me because they were going to get married. So now I've given my suspicion or my disapproval, or not my disapproval, but my prediction, and they'll both get upset with me. So I didn't say a thing, even though I knew that it wouldn't last. And sure enough, their sanskars, little too much conflict in the sanskars. I didn't think it was going to last, and I knew him well. So I bit my tongue. I didn't say anything. Sometimes, love prevented me from alienating them. It was important that I was supportive to both of them as long as the marriage lasted. I don't know if that makes any sense. These are
Yes, it
all
makes a lot of sense.
oh,
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah, Jai Baba Jeff, this is Archana.
Yeah. Okay.
Like we have heard, familiarity breeds contempt. Is that what Baba meant when he said about the hedge in relations? So would it be advisable if in case, you know, like some friend comes to you with a problem and you definitely give her or him a listening ear, but instead of advising, why not pray to Baba to sort out the situation for the person concerned?
Oh, yeah, definitely. That's basically implied. That's happening. You're trying to, hold them with Baba as they're telling you, their difficulties they're going through. But yeah, that's very important to do.
So I guess that way one would not be so attached either to the problem
Yeah.
and not be judgmental either, right?
Yeah, beautiful. Now, here's a thing that you can run into if somebody is telling you some of their intimate problems, and you listen, then sometimes they can feel embarrassed to be around you after that.
Right.
So you even have to be careful of how much of their problem you take in, because you have to kind of know if later on they are embarrassed to be around you, and that creates a distance. So
Right.
even what you take in requires discrimination. How much can I take in and still support this friendship
Right.
and not create any unnecessary distance? I mean, these are all intuition and love and Baba is what gets us through some of these very. This is right adjustment to other people. I mean, this is what Baba's talking about.
True.
It's
Thank
not
you
just
so much.
yeah.
Yeah, Baba.
Next, we have Meher Daruga.
Yeah.
Because this is it. I tell them, if you are in love, you are a Baba lover, you should go to Baba, talk to Baba. But they want to come to me and say, oh, give us this advice, give us this advice. I said, no, you all should go to your God or you go to Baba and talk to him instead of coming and asking me. Because I can't give any advice. I always say that to them. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Jeff, I want to come back to your, situation of choosing to keep mom and not advising the two people who are going to get married at the behest of, fearing that they might be alienated or something. Is that the right and the only right thing to do? I mean, will it be wrong if somebody felt in his heart and wanted to come forward and tell them that this is what I feel is, you two people are kind of not meant for each other, or you're going to be facing problems and stuff like that. Will that be incorrect, or we will be meddling in their affairs or something?
No, it could be correct. But what I was judging on was the love, trying to safeguard the love for each of them. And in the long run, I think the love, having gone with love instead of they were going to get married anyway, so there was no changing that.
What happened in the end, by the way? I mean, did it last?
They did
or
break
no?
up. Yeah, they did break up, and it was a bit disastrous too,
to
say the least. But I did maintain a loving relationship with both of them, and I felt love won out in the long run, from my standpoint. But these are, like I say, these are very subtle. These take tremendous discrimination to remain harmonious and not get ourselves bound in how we relate to others. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Jai Baba.
Yeah. Okay.
This is Dilshad Kapadia. My apologies for not being able to keep the video on.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask, I loved what you said, that Baba said that you need to love, not necessarily like. I think it's very profound. And if you can give a few more examples or anything from your life or even otherwise, any story, or could elaborate on it and help us understand it still better? Thank you.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Ooh. Like say, suppose that you have somebody that all your interactions wind up being negative. You know that they're combative. They confront you, and and it creates a negativity. Sometimes it's important to kind of keep a little bit of a distance from that person, and just to keep rather than kind of get bound and pulled into arguments or disputes and everything. Well, I'll give you an example. I've got a neighbor whose political ideology is polar opposite from mine. And if I brought that subject up, we would be at loggerheads. But I just work on the heart level, what we have going as the neighborliness. But if we get up on the ideological level, I'm going to lose him. I'm
Happens
going to
to me
even
all
lose
the
him as
time.
a neighbor. What's that?
Yes. As it happens to me all the time.
Yeah,
I can
I
relate
know.
to that.
Yeah, you have to decide whether you want to alienate somebody on an ideological level by sacrificing the heart level. But now you're saying some dislike that I have.
Uh,
I know one of the things I dislike most, and it's very disturbing, and I've had to live with it, is indifference from others.
mm-hmm.
I don't like to see indifference.
Right,
Um, I'd rather someone be angry at me than just indifferent, like I mean nothing to them.
right.
I have to kind of live with that because some people, they that's their that's their attitude toward me. Like, who's that guy? Not that not that I have to have anything. Just at least something that we can work with, even if it's um, criticism or, you know, irritation, whatever. I would rather have something to work with than they just block me off like, I'm some untouchable. Yeah.
So then
Jimmy.
how
Oh,
would you still call it love and not like?
well, I, I do feel confident that I love them and I will make sacrifices for their spiritual well-being. I'm in readiness to do that. They may not want to hear anything from me, but I'm in readiness. If they needed to get to India, I might, help finance their trip to India. You know what I mean? So even though I don't like them and they're indifferent to me, I drop back into the love I have for them as a fellow traveler, you might say. So the love kind of counterbalances the dislike.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
sure.
Jai
I'd say,
Baba.
Jim,
Archana?
Jay Baba Jeff, once again,
yeah,
you spoke about indifference. You know, when I came to Baba, before I came to Baba in 2006, whenever I got this attitude of indifference from the opposite person, I would definitely be annoyed and hold a grudge and whatnot. But ever since I have come into his folds, I feel the person who is indifferent to you is helping you to
yeah,
crush your ego. That's
yeah,
my personal take on this. I
good.
don't know how
Yeah,
right it is. So in the long run, one should thank such people because they are helping us get closer to him,
yeah,
which is our ultimate goal, isn't
yeah.
it?
Yeah, no, that's the really right attitude. That's the beautiful attitude to take each one of these things as lessons from Baba.
Yes.
That's beautiful. Yeah.
Thank you.
Delna's question about love. Baba said, I'm for all and I've come for all. And I love all, but I love some more. Instead that I love some more and I love some less. So
Yeah.
this is what she was asking about love to different people.
Yeah.
And there's a story we have been centering around. You started off saying that we have to interact with people. We can't pull our shutters down for sanskaric reasons. We need to interact with each other, etc. So that this story, this man came with me to Mehrabad. He was not a Baba lover, nevertheless he came. And this is his story. He's a Parsi, he lives in Canada. And 3 months of the year in winter, he comes down to Mumbai to live at his place in Mumbai. So one of these times that he came, he went to a saintly person's dargah, and there was a man there who was also kind of a saintly person. So this guy is asking this Parsi, why have you come to India? So this guy said, every year I come to India, 3 months of the year because of the winter in Canada. I come here and I spend my winters over here. But this was a higher soul. He said, no, but tell me, why have you come to India this time? And he kept dodging him. Finally, when he was pestered, he said, I've come to India this time. I've come to Mumbai to file divorce with my wife. And he's...
What? Say that again?
I've come to India to have a divorce, to divorce my wife, to split with my wife. And this man says, don't do it now. And this Parsi explains to him that I have a very good nature. I have a very pleasant nature. I love everyone. Everybody loves me immensely. I'm loved by all. But for unknown reason, my wife is extremely unreasonable with me, and I can take no longer. I've suffered with her for 15 years, 15, and I take it no longer. So this time I'm decided I'm filing a notice to her for separation. And this saintly person explained to him that you will have to wait for 2 years. After 2 years, you can separate. It's okay. But please hang on for 2 more years. And he said, why? I'm very desperate. I don't want to live with her for 1 more day. And the saintly guy said, this has to do with your karmas. In the last life, in your previous life, you and she were husband and wife. And in your last life, you harassed her for 17 long years. For 17 years, she bore it. She bore it patiently. She tolerated your nonsense, your hurt, your insults, everything for 17 long years. Now this time, the sides are flipped. This time it is she, because of karmic reasons. It is she who is giving you back, and 2 years are left. You have known her, she has known you. So bide the time, bide for 2 more years. What this karmic connections that you have with her, we finish with it. If you insist and if you give divorce to her this time, this 2 years, you'll have to marry again her in your next, and in next life, she will give it back to you for 2 more years. You rather stay put with her, tolerate her for 2 more years, and be done away with at the sanskaric level. So this is why Baba puts you together to end up your sanskaric frictions or whatever you call it.
Yeah, beautiful. Yep. Yeah. Otherwise, if they married her again, the marriage might just last for 2 years.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm a little greedy. I want you, if you're ending the session, end it with a song, please.
Okay, I'll do a song. Anything else? But this is I like I say, I was kind of dreading where this was going to go and what I had to say, but this is very much a part of our finding that harmony in ourself and in this world with so many different types of people. And as I say, in the Baba world, many of these people would not be together, because they're from such different cultures and socioeconomic and cultural backgrounds. But because they're into Baba, we're all on the same dance floor. Numbers, normally we gravitate toward people that are similar to us in part of our culture and everything, but here Baba's got us all out on the dance floor, and people that normally, culturally, you might not have gotten to know. and the adjusting to these people who are so different from you sometimes, Bob is giving us a great opportunity because everybody really is inside of us, and we have to kind of get to know our larger self. I mean, you know, it's, so yeah, it's a great challenge, and I sometimes see people, I could tell, boy, they would not normally be hanging out together if they had not been into Baba. You know, so this is a great, much more difficult challenge, and like I say, judgmentalness and criticalness of our fellow beings and our fellow Baba lovers is understandable, and it's a lot of the work that has to be done so we can actually enjoy each other. You know, I mean, luckily we're on Zoom, so we're not in the same room, kind of bumping into each other, and leaving the dishes for someone else or whatever. We're so we're clean in that way. So I'll sing a song. I hope I can remember all the words. This is a version of Hafiz. It's not really Hafiz, but it's in the spirit of Hafiz.
Tonight my heart's an unset jewel upon the tender night, yearning for its friend the moon in all its blinding light. When the lovely ancient one appears upon this earth again, then 10,000 facets of my heart will be illumined by this friend. Oh, 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 oh. For tonight my heart's an uncut ruby weeping in its need, offering up to the darkened sky and begging to be freed. I am dying in the cold wee hours for the resplendent Lord's sweet grace. I am dying in the early dawn, for I once glimpsed his face. Oh, 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 oh. For tonight my soul's a brilliant flute, aching for the Christ's pure breath, so that my being can take wing and fly beyond its death. Oh, lead me into the circle of the beloved's cunning thieves. Where are those fraternal, lovely rogues to share blessed calamities? Oh, 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 oh. For tonight my heart's an uncut gem, unillumined and forlorn, seeking the Master's company and begging to be reborn. Our souls are bright reed instruments in need of Christ's pure breath. For only such a perfect one can lead us beyond death. Oh, oh, oh. For tonight my heart's a conquered. Whoop, I forgot the first verse. I hope it stimulates a little bit of pondering with these deeper things at the heart level. With Baba, I mean, these things you can't figure out with your mind, but Erich used to say we have this gadget in there. He used to call it a gadget, but the heart. And it can come up with intuitions and ways of responding that the mind could never come up with. Repeating that one name, a word, quote of Baba's, all differences between one another are merely superficial and cannot affect the love we feel for each other deep down. Anyway, so we already love each other.
Yes.
Now, if we can just get the sanskars out of the way, we could really enjoy ourselves. Oh, here's a great quote. Oh, no, I think I already gave it. Yeah.
You can give it again.
Give it again.
No, it was the Rumi quote.
See, we are very greedy Baba lovers, you see.
The roads are different, but the goal is one. All those who yelled at each other, you infidel, you hypocrite, all those who yelled along the way, you hypocrite, you infidel, in the end, drink from the same keg of wine and laugh out loud. So we're all going to find out we were all in the same place all the time, even though we imagined we were in different places. Yeah. Hey, there's Artie too. Yeah. Okay. Well, have fun with Baba.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.